If you want to play triplets in your jazz solos without them sounding like just a bunch of random notes, you have to use melody. So today we're going to be checking out how Max Roach uses melody in his drum solo For Big Sid so you can start playing melodic triplets in your jazz solos today. So today we're checking out a solo from Max Roach's solo on For Big Sid from his live performance at the Jazz Alley Bandstand in Washington, D.C. You can find the full video on YouTube. And really what you're going to see in this video is the three things that make drum solos sound melodic. The first is accents, okay? Accents are so important to melodies, especially in jazz music. If you think of a Charlie Parker melody like this one, right? Or this one, right? They have accents that really outline the jazz phrasing that make them sound melodic. So if we want to sound melodic on the drums, we can't just play everything the same height. We have to have clear differences between accents and lower notes, okay? The other thing that makes it sound really melodic when you're soloing on the drums is phrasing, okay? So if we think like a classical melody, something like bum, 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 bum. Why does that work so well? Why do our ears grab onto that so well? It's because of the repetition with a slight difference that it just clicks a button in the pattern recognition in our human brains that we really like. That's kind of what melody is this balance between, you know, recognition and surprise. And so we have to put that in our solos. I'll show you how Max does it in a second. The other thing on the drums is orchestration, okay? So how do you move across the drums, play different drums at different times, the toms, etc., to make it sound like a melody? And Max Roach was one of the first real advocates of this, one of the first guys to tune his drums up really high and play melodies on the drum set. So without further ado, let's check out the first example. Okay, so you can see here, this is very simple. Max is just playing on the snare drum, but creating the melody with his accents, right? So he plays this. Right? Now, what's so cool about that is there's such a clear accent between accents and taps, right? A clear difference. And that's what makes it stand out, right? If you would have played these ideas like that, where the taps are higher, it's not going to be as clear where the melody is. Right? So that's the first thing. The other thing that he does is he uses a lot of repetition, okay? So the first 4 bars here, he plays this idea. He plays it twice, right? So, ba-ba-dum, bum-ba-dum. Remember the classical melody? When you repeat things, they sound more melodic. And then he goes away from it. Right? Again, like I said before, you got to create some similarity, things that sound the same, and then create some contrast. That's how you tickle that melody button in our brain, right? Now the next phrase, he goes to something different. He plays, and then he comes right back to that same phrase. So, and finishes it off with something different. So you can see there's like this little theme and variations that's happening within this 8-bar phrase, right? So the whole phrase. Let's go check out the second example. Now these 4 bars are almost the same phrase. It's the same accent pattern, right? But it is orchestrated across the drums so it sounds more melodic, right? So already, that just makes it sound more melodic. Instead of a couple accents, it's boom ba-doom, boom ba-doom, right? And then the phrasing of this is that he plays that idea 2 times, and I would call that like A in terms of the form, and then he plays a different idea, right? I would call that the B, and then he goes back to the initial idea, another A, right? So the whole thing, we have A, B, A, which is the same phrasing as a tune like Doxy or rhythm changes, just at a smaller scale. So this is how you make your ideas make sense, right? It's a simple idea. He just had one little idea that he repeated, another idea that he went to, and then came back to the same idea. You get this phrase. Let's check out the next phrase where Max takes this even a step further. Now, this phrase is extremely similar, right? He's just taking the same concept of playing accents on the toms, right? And then filling in with low triplets. This one, he uses a bit of a quarter note triplet shape. Now, in the video, he has 3 toms set up. I only have 2, so I'm just gonna kind of do my best here. But the main idea he starts with is this, right? Repeats that twice, again, A, and then he goes to this longer 2-bar phrase right here, so. Right? So this is another piece of phrasing that you can use. You can play a 1-bar A, 2-bar B, right? And he's taking that and he's combining it with this simple triplet orchestration that makes it sound like a melody. Now, it's one thing to take these ideas and just plug and play the exact Max Roach ideas that you're learning in this video, but I actually want you to take it a step further and be able to improvise your own ideas in this sort of mode so that you sound more like yourself and that ultimately you don't have this problem of having to like recall all the ideas you learned on the video and then your ideas just don't come out, okay? So I'm gonna show you how to do that in a second, but before we do that, if you're watching this and you're like, how did Jameson transcribe that so fast? And I don't even have the technique to play this stuff. And also, like, play this at a jam session? Like, I don't even know tunes. I can't even go to a jam session. Well, that's true because there's a lot of things that you need to know to become a complete jazz musician and start playing gigs, and I can't cover all of them in this video. But that is what I work on with my students at the jazz school. We work on everything that you need to become a complete jazz musician and start playing with people. So everything from tune learning, technique, getting vocabulary for soloing, vocabulary for comping, how to transcribe and learn from your favorite jazz drummers, then how to put it all together, go up on stage and let your best ideas come out with energy and emotion so that you get called for gigs, that you can book your own gigs and ultimately just have a lot of fun playing jazz music you love. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, there's a link in the description where you can check out a short video on what it's like to study with me at the jazz school, what we do, and then once you have some more information on that, book a time to meet with me. We'll talk one-on-one to see if it's going to be a good fit for us to work together. And if it makes sense, we'll get started. Now, like I said before, I don't want you to just copy the Max Roach phrases. That's a good place to start. But ultimately, we want to use him as inspiration for our own melodic triplet ideas, okay? So what we're going to do is a short exercise that'll develop your flexibility within this kind of mode that's inspired by Max so that you can create your own ideas. Okay, so what I've got pulled up here is I have the syncopation page from the famous Ted Reed syncopation book that everybody studies from. In my book, it's page 32, but this is like the most common page that people will use. And what we're going to do with this is we're going to use the syncopation rhythms on that page as accents for the triplets and just start on the snare drum playing like that first Max solo idea we saw, right? So I can take this rhythm, right? And I can do that with triplets. So right? Now at the very beginning, it's going to take a little of figuring out, right? Because what's happening is I'm alternating my sticking the whole time, right? I'm just going right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. And with triplets, it makes it so that your accents will fall on different hands. So you got to build up the coordination first of knowing which hand is going to be on which accent, that sort of thing. And I really recommend that when you do this, you make sure, just like Max, that you have a big difference between your low notes and your high notes, right? You don't want to play it like this. You want to play it like this, right? There's a big difference. It's subtle, but it makes all the difference in making it sound melodic. Then, you know, once you have that comfortable, you want to take it a step further like Max did and orchestrate it across the drums, okay? So let's orchestrate it like he did, where the right-handed accents are going to go on the floor tom, the left-handed accents on the high tom, okay? So that same syncopation page would sound like, right? Boom, you can hear that has a melody now. Boom, boom, da doo da doo da doo da doo da doo da da doo da da doo. Right? Starting to sound like a melody. Now, once you're comfortable with that, you can do the whole page just like that. The next step is to take some of those rhythms, some of those orchestrations, and create your own phrasing, just like Max. Remember, the three things that make it melodic. Accents, that's what we did with the snare. Orchestration, that's what we did with the toms. And then now phrasing. So I can take maybe two of those rhythms and make an AABA out of it, right? Something like this. Right? And I recommend you workshop a couple of those. Maybe you can do A, and then 2 bar B, right? So if you practice all this correctly, you get the dynamics, the orchestration, and the phrasing dialed in, then you're going to be able to play melodic triplet ideas just like Max Roach. And if you like these jazz drummer breakdowns, go ahead and subscribe to the channel because I got more of these on the way. And in the meantime, go ahead and check out my video on how Alan Dawson transforms 6-stroke rolls into a bunch of triplet ideas as well. See you on the next one.